one of the family members, either their mother or their father or their aunt, who had come to Atchison to be the priest or a nun. And I'm sitting in the back. And if you know me, come on. So they get to me,
The wheels
right?
are turning, right?
The wheels are turning, baby. Look, I'm in the back of the van. They get to me. And I said, my name is Sean Hintz. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. I came here because my dad is doing 7 to 10 in Leavenworth for embezzlement, and I'm here to visit him on the weekends. My brother and I want to be able to visit him. Look, the van stops. Everybody turns around. Are you serious? Hey, man, I want to see my dad on weekends. What can I say? All right, that's why we're here.
Hey there, como ça va and que pasa? Welcome to In the Pocket with Jay Bo, and I'm your host, Jay Bodman. Today's episode centers around two brothers I have been friends with for the better part of 40 years, fellow alumni from Archbishop Shaw High School in New Orleans, more specifically, Marrero, Louisiana. Jimmy and Sean Hintz, or as they are more popularly known, the Hintz brothers. I'll cover Jimmy since he's the elder statesman. First, Jimmy was born in Touro Hospital in New Orleans. Hey, man, that's the same as my oldest son, Casey, so that's pretty good. He spent his time growing up with his passion for sports in baseball, football, and basketball. He graduated from Benedictine College in Atchison, Kansas, and it has an MBA from Regis University in Colorado. He did attend LSU for 3 semesters, and we'll have more on that later. He is a veteran of the U.S. Army for 21 years, where he achieved the rank of lieutenant colonel. He has worked in the advertising industry for many years. He is a father of 2 with his awesome wife, Dawn, and they have a daughter, Kate, and a son, Carson. Sean, his younger brother, was born at Ochsner Hospital in Jefferson, Louisiana. He as well had a passion for sports growing up, and again, mainly football, basketball, and baseball. He and Jimmy are both 1983 graduates of Archbishop Shaw. I was in 1982, a year before these brothers. Sean received his BSN from LSU and his Master's of Health Science from Texas Wesleyan University in Fort Worth. Sean is also a military veteran, achieving the rank of captain in the United States Air Force Reserve. He is a principal partner for Tandem Anesthesia, based out of Benton, which is by Shreveport and Bossier City, Louisiana, for almost 30 years now. He has 2 children, Dayton and Lauren, with his wonderful wife, Denise. So welcome to the show, fellas.
Jay Bo, appreciate you having us on, man. This is exciting. We're all dressed in green, and looking forward to talking a little bit about the West Bank, about growing up on the West Bank, and how it's led us all here to great things in life.
What you got, Sean?
Jay, thanks for having us. Been thinking about it all day. Had a real busy day today, and couldn't wait to get on with my brother and with you and talk about life on the West Bank.
Well, I tell you what, man, as one of our favorite people, I'm sure Ernie Chasson would just say it's a great day to be alive, gentlemen. You know, we're all wearing Shaw shirts right now, so, good stuff there. So I'm going to tell y'all with a custom we have on In the Pocket with Jay Bo is I like to ask a few icebreaker type of questions to get things going at first. So if you guys don't mind, we'll get rolling with that. And as the late, great Jackie Gleason would say, and away we go. So y'all ready? And these questions will be for both of you now. So, Jimmy,
So is it like a game show? Like first one to answer, Jay? Because we're very competitive now.
I know y'all are. That's why I'm setting the pace here with which one I'm going at first. Had to make sure we're watching that. Okay, so Sean, since I introduced Jimmy first, I'll let you go first on question number 1. Who was your favorite teacher or administrator from our high school at Archbishop Shaw, and why?
Wow, Jay, that's a great question. I've got to go back probably to my senior year, and I would tell you that Leroy Kendrick was one of my favorites. I had him for homeroom, and every day Leroy Kendrick came to school as a professional. He was dressed impeccably. He came with a briefcase. He was prepared, and he was very polite, courteous, but he demanded respect. And it was tough for I think a man like him, at the time we didn't have many black teachers at Archbishop Shaw. And so it was, he was truly a minority in our school. But I quickly learned to respect and to love him tremendously. And I wrote him a letter years ago thanking him for allowing me to be a bit of a goof off at times. But some of the practices, the business practices that I've had my whole life came from Leroy Kendrick in the class of business law and economics at Archbishop Shaw High School. So when I think about some of my favorite teachers, I think Leroy Kendrick's going to be one of the top ones. I loved Pat O'Shea. I mean, I took civics with him. Pat O'Shea had a way with being light and always had something funny to say. But Pat O'Shea led by example. I guess thirdly would probably be Jim Flatley. Took multiple math classes with Jim Flatley. And the funny thing about it is that Darrell Crawford, myself, Pete Rosenbaum, we were in advanced math with Jim Flatley, and as much chatter was going on behind the scenes, I think he realized that I was paying attention to him. When he asked me to come to the board and work a problem, I did it almost word for word on how he had explained it. He didn't think I was paying attention, but I really was.
Nice.
I think those three teachers probably top of the list for me.
Well, I can tell you, I haven't thought of Mr. Kendrick in a long time, and the minute you said his name, the first thing I thought of, that guy was always dressed to the nines, man. He very professional. If there was one adjective I could use with him, it was professional. Yeah. Coach O'Shea, man, he's an icon as far as Archbishop Shaw is concerned, no doubt. I really wasn't around Mr. Flatley as much, but truly understand. But a good man from what I know. Jimmy, what you got, man?
I'm going to actually mention three different people. So number one has to be Coach Z. The impact that Coach Z had on my life was pretty immense. He recognized, the very first time I ever met him in the gym at Shaw High School, the summer before my freshman year. He saw something special in me, and he always encouraged me, and he was a huge influence. Later, we actually moved to Woodland West and would carpool sometimes with Coach Z. And I remember him running a marathon while he was at Shaw coaching. And this is how old school he was. He did all of his training on the track at Shaw, where he would run, 50, 60 laps around that track.
Quarter-mile track, too.
But he was disciplined enough to do that.
Without his shirt on. He looked like a bodybuilder too. The guy was stacked pretty solid.
So
Coach Z was a man's man.
Definitely Coach Z. Second one I'm going to mention is actually, I think, one you both are going to laugh at but appreciate. And that was a class that everyone took because they thought it was easy. And little did we all know that it was going to play dividends the rest of our lives. And that's Miss Evelyn Mars in typing.
Yep.
Typing was like, oh, you got to take typing. It's easy, right? Well, man, today that's what we do every single day.
Absolutely.
And thank God Miss Evelyn Mars made us learn how to type. Or not made, we took a class. So, and then the last one I got to throw, Brother Vince Beauvais, who was there while we were all there. Brother Vince was an incredible man of faith, still
Wonderful
is.
man.
I communicate with him every once in a while. He's a devout man, still very, very Catholic. And, a lot of people respected Brother Vince and looked up to him immensely. But there is one story that I have to tell.
Sure.
And that was sophomore year, English class, Coach Don Kloss. If you remember, Coach Kloss was about 6'5", and I think weighed maybe 100 pounds. Okay, and he had gone to St. John Vianney High School, to become a priest, or he thought he wanted to be a priest. Remember, they used to actually field the football. And here's Don Kloss in front of a group of sophomore English students, and somebody asked him a question about, restaurants or something, and he starts talking about, restaurants, and he goes, am a professional eater-outer. And when he did that, he caught himself and went, no, I didn't just say that.
Man,
A moment I never forgot in high school, Jay.
I love it. I love
Jimmy,
it.
I can't believe you just said that story. It brought back the memories. I can't believe you just said that.
That really happened.
It really happened.
Yes,
Just
indeed.
like that.
Well, I'm sure we all got about 30 or 40 stories kind of like that we could tell, you know. No, but I think all those are great choices right there. Just real quick, I have to participate in this one, and I rarely do that, but I would say probably most of mine are going to be coaches. It's Coach Chesson. I love Ernie Chesson. He believed in me when some people didn't, and took me aside and talked to me even after high school years. I just got a lot of respect for him. He was a hell of a ball player when he was younger too. I'm sure you guys knew that, man. He was a hell of a ball player. Coach Fred Dufresne, Big Fred, he lived in the front of my neighborhood with Mark and Trey, and spent a lot of time with Coach Fred and them when I was younger. And I had Miss Chandler for typing, actually, if y'all remember. Miss Chandler. I had her instead of Miss Mars. But I had a home run with Miss Mars, I want to say my junior year. And probably the last one I'll say is Outlaw Joe Skiro, man. I love Joe Skiro, man.
I can't believe I didn't mention him.
He got run over by Mercury Morris.
He was my O-line coach. I should have said.
Yep.
Hey, the other two I can't forget mention is Lou Valden and Miss Cole.
Yeah. Sweet Lou. Yep. Man, what a hell of a coaching career he ended up having, huh?
Yeah.
Man,
hey,
outstanding. Yeah. Coach
I was on his very first team.
Yeah. Yep.
That's right, Jimmy.
Yeah, I had him for home run as well. I want to say my sophomore year. Man, he was just like having an older student, in there with
exactly
us. He was
right.
great, man. I loved him. So let's move on. Go ahead, Sean. I'm sorry.
Well, no, Sweet Lou was a grocery store manager on Terry Parkway before he became a teacher. And
I didn't know that. Okay.
he taught a little free enterprise. He taught world history. And I was concentrating on teachers, Ernie Chasson, Lou Valden, Hank Tierney, probably
Coach
one of the
Hank,
most
man.
influential.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of teachers that impacted me in business, I mentioned earlier, but those guys were phenomenal too.
Yeah,
and a great
guys
coach.
Are icons there, but Hank's a legend,
Yeah, he's his own separate class.
Those guys are legends there, man. So let's get on. Second question. This is a little more of a fun one. So, Jimmy, I'll go to you first. What is your favorite month and why?
Man, my favorite month. Well, gosh, that's a really hard one. I'm going to go with September. September because A, starting to cool a little bit. B, it's football season.
That's
so
true.
You've got college football, high school football, NFL football. It seems like you can watch a game every night of the week. And so, I'm a sports guy. Still am a sports guy. So I love the month of September. Plus half of it, but half of it is Hispanic Heritage Month as well.
There you go.
Jim.
So, Sean, talk to me.
Jimmy, your sister-in-law is not going to be happy because you didn't say, and my favorite sister-in-law's birthday month. You did, man. You had a chance.
We might have to edit that one.
Listen, you had a chance, and you threw it out the window. Come on.
All right. Well, hey, Sean, what month is my wife born? Exactly. Okay.
October.
No. March. May.
Jimmy.
Mr. May.
I'm going to have to put an edit on this. All right, Sean, favorite month and why?
Well, I got to tell you, for the last 25 years, I kind of lived for the winters. January, February, come up two of my favorite months. My wife and I have been snow chasers for 20 plus years. So wherever the snow is falling the deepest, and that's where we're traveling. And we're finding a mountain to fall down. The winter months are some of my favorites. So January, February, typically, we spend almost every birthday I've had, which is at the end of February, on a mountain, either with kids or with friends or both.
Nice.
So those winter months are probably my favorite in January, February time.
knowing both of you guys, I think your answers that you gave me make total sense to me, and you both supported your answers, and it's for a simple question. It really means a lot. So thank y'all. I like that. Third question, and this is one I always ask everyone. And Sean, I'm gonna ask you first. If you could go back in time and have a conversation with a historical figure, could be a family member, could be an athlete, could be a musician, anybody, doesn't matter, and they would want to talk to you back, who would it be?
Well, Jay, I mean,
Anybody.
I got to go to the one person that I talk to every day,
Mm-hmm.
and that's my Lord and Savior. If there was someone that I could have a conversation with face to face, it would be Jesus Christ. And there are lots of influential public figures or heroes that I've had over the years, but I have these conversations every morning, every afternoon, every evening. But hearing his voice has only happened, a half a dozen times in my life where I
Sure.
really heard the Lord speaking back to me. And so, I go back to Archbishop Shaw, and the three tenets are reason, kindness, and religion. And to say that religion hasn't been the most important part of my life would be a lie, because it has been. And without it, I wouldn't be the man I am today.
Very good. And again, I like how you guys are supporting your answers here. Jimmy, talk to me.
Historical figure, right?
Historical figure. Again, anybody, family member,
Okay.
athlete.
That's what I was trying
Anybody.
to clarify. Man, I tell you what, I'm going to throw a real curveball out here. So Sean and I never knew our grandfather, our maternal grandfather.
Maternal.
It's a
Maternal.
long story.
Okay.
Grew up in Costa Rica. Ended up becoming a pharmacist for Eli Lilly Company. Was in Colombia. Moved around Colombia a bunch, and eventually my grandmother from Costa Rica, they started corresponding, they get married. She moves there in early 1941.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately, my grandmother gets pregnant, and just a few months after that, on a Friday in September of 1941, he's driving his car and he hears some noises like something's wrong, and he stops the vehicle and he opens the door and he gets killed. And, here's my grandmother there in Cali, Colombia, all right, alone, now with a dead husband and a 6-month-old in her stomach, and she's got to deal with all this. And, I wish I could go back in time and tell my grandfather, don't get out on that side.
Right. Almost like
Now,
a quantum leap type of thing, right?
that's exactly it, Jay. So
Yeah.
I thought I'd tell that story.
Jay, I got to tell you something. That's one of the most touching stories I've heard Jimmy Hintz say in a long time. That's from his heart, and I'm proud of him for even thinking of that, because it would have been a poignant event for all of our lives to have had him as an influence in our lives. And he's not that real deep guy into deep stuff, and that was beautiful, and I'm proud of him for saying that. Very good, Jimbo.
Well, the thing is Jimmy, and thank you for bringing up, a subject that's, a little it's not little, it's heartfelt there. And Sean, you just said something that really caught my attention, that, you wasn't able to speak to him or him speak to you. But again, I'm a big believer in, they see you from above. So I think they are seeing you guys, and they are speaking to you because of the things that you have accomplished. And I think that's very, very, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's very inspirational to you guys to have that, and what you've been able to do in your lives. Again, I think he would be smiling from above. And unfortunately, he was taken the way he was. But I look at that as you guys were given a very powerful guardian angel to look over things that y'all have done. And I thank you, Jimmy, for sharing that, man. Thank you very much.
All right.
And I think Jimmy might be a little deeper than you give him a little credit for, Sean.
Thanks, Jay. I really appreciate you recognizing that.
I see that.
Piece of
Okay, well, thank y'all, man. I really appreciate that. That was some deep responses there, and it's greatly appreciated. So one thing I like doing with the show is kind of bridging old school with new school. And even though we don't have any new school people on the show right now, we're going to have new school people, new school viewers watching this. And we're all kind of old school guys and believe in those old values and practices and things that we've done in life. And believe it or not, I'm not one of these guys that think, oh, new school, they don't know anything and all that. I think that's probably a smaller percentage of the crowd. I think there's a larger percentage that do listen and do care, because I know when we were all younger, yeah, we were wrapped up in the new school stuff when we were younger. But I think a majority of our friends, including us, all kept an ear open to that old school thing as well back then. So that's one thing I like to let resonate throughout the show. And as we're doing this, one of the things I was really interested in is when you guys were growing up, and it happened to families. I know your parents divorced when, I believe, when y'all were both kind of young, if I'm correct, and y'all lived apart for a while, but you still maintained, playing ball at the playgrounds and, getting some values there. And I think, Jimmy, you were with your father a little more majority of the time, and Sean, you were with your mother, if I remember right. So just talk to me a little bit when y'all were younger, and, not always home all the time when you're young. When you're home, there's an influence on you, but I think when we were out at the playground and playing with friends and things like that, that really had an effect on us. So, Jimmy, why don't you talk to me a little bit about that first?
Man, I'd love to, Jay.
Sure.
Sean and I, from our earliest memories, lived on Dorothy Drive in Avondale, Louisiana. We were blessed to have some really cool people that were around us, but namely someone who became a big part of our lives and kind of filled us up. And that was we called our cousin, Robert Smith, who lived
Hey,
one door
Robert.
away. And, growing up in Avondale was a little bit different than other parts of New Orleans. It was a pretty rough place,
Yeah.
and in many ways, you had to fight your way out of Avondale. And
Y'all were right
and
next door
so
to
Bridge
us.
City, which was even worse. So yes, I
It
appreciate that. But
wasn't
Bridge
easy,
City was
man.
even harder to grow up in.
It wasn't easy.
Then, I started out at Catherine Straley Elementary School for first grade. And like pretty much every kid in the neighborhood, that's where you went. Some things were happening in the world at that moment. And so second grade came around, and parents decided we need to go to Catholic school. And so Robert and I, who were at Straley together, he gets a slot at Palm Sucker. My mom finds a slot for me and Sean at St. Rita in Harahan,
Right.
along with like three or four other families in Avondale. Sonny Martin, Ernest Carver, a whole
Yep.
bunch of
Good
people.
friends of mine growing up.
Yeah. And so we start carpooling all the way over to St. Rita's in Harahan. So that was first grade, second grade, and part of third grade. Middle of third grade, I get a slot at Palm Sucker. My mom moves me there. Sean had a slot at Immaculate Conception, so he went to IC for second grade. So
That's
I
just
sort
amazing
of
how they couldn't get both of you in at the same school. That's just amazing. That just blows my
slots were
mind.
a
So,
premium,
Jimmy, you
man.
started Our Lady of Prom Sucker in third grade.
Third
You went,
grade, I went half of third grade, half of fourth grade,
so
and
I was
then
there in
finally
fourth grade. So you had to be there the same time I was there, because I started in
for a
fourth
half
grade,
a
actually.
year. Yep, a
Yeah, I
half a
was at
year.
Bridge City Elementary. So you must have started the same time that I did then.
And
How
then
about that?
a slot opens up at Immaculate Conception, and so now I'm at IC half of fourth grade.
But
So
with
in
your
four
brother.
years, I'm in four schools,
Wow.
and
But you
then
with Sean at
ended up.
IC, right?
And Sean was
Okay.
already at IC, so everybody knew
Okay.
him, and so that was kind of the formation there. So a lot of moving around, and then fast forward after fifth grade, parents tell us they're going to split up. Very traumatic experience for both of us.
Yeah.
I think we both still remember the night that they sat us down in our den and told us. And the first thing Sean and I thought was that we ate too much food, and that's
Really?
why they couldn't
Wow.
afford us. And so we said,
Wow.
"Hey, we'll stop eating so much food because that's what
Right.
we thought was causing it." And so eventually I stayed there with my dad in Avondale. Sean moved out, and then I ended up staying there, eighth grade, going through at Immaculate Conception. Then I did eighth grade a second time, not for academic reasons, just because I went to John Curtis for a year, and kind of a tradition at John Curtis. I was one of like 26 other athletes who were doing the same thing that year.
Roger that.
And then eventually in middle of eighth grade, Sean moved back with us. And, Jay, I don't think, that was probably the most profound event in my life was my brother coming back. And that truly was the formation of the Hintz brothers. We were always the Hintz brothers, but being apart and then being back, that second administration is always better.
So, Sean, go back and tell me about a little bit of your side of that story right there, if you would, please.
Well, I think it's easiest for me to pick up, right at that fifth grade spot where parents were divorcing. I was at ICS. I finished. We moved first to Harvey when my parents split up out on MacArthur Street in Harvey, a little shotgun house. My sister and I, and we finished the school year at ICS, and then went to sixth grade at Gretna Middle School. Bused all the way to Gretna Middle School. And after the summer of sixth grade, I moved to Georgia. My mother, my sister, and another lady and her two children, we all moved to Georgia and started out in a nice neighborhood, renting a house. I can't imagine what some of the adults in that neighborhood were thinking about the two women moving into this house at that time.
Back in what, the mid-'70s probably?
Correct, that's right.
Yeah.
And, Lord knows what they were thinking, And then spent seventh grade in Georgia, moved to an apartment complex in Georgia. And my mother, my sister, and I down on a Friday night eating a Totini's pizza and asked us if we remembered Father Virgil from St. Bonaventure. I loved Father Virgil. And she said, well, we're getting married. And I said, Mom, you can't marry a Catholic priest. And she said, well, he hasn't been a priest for over 2 years, and we've been writing and talking to each other. And he's coming at the end of the summer, and we're moving back to New Orleans. And I was thrilled because I was going to be closer to my brother and my dad. Truthfully, Jay, the 3 years that I didn't have my older brother or my father around were some tough years for me. I was kind of footloose and fancy free. I started working when I was 12 years old, making $1 an hour on 4th Street in Harvey. And I had a street legal motorcycle, which allowed me to put a full face helmet on, and had two friends that were 15 years old. And I'm 13 years old, and I'm going across the Greater New Orleans Bridge. I'm driving all the way to Bay St. Louis with two guys, okay? I'm 13 years old and never once got pulled over. I was working at a snowball stand, but I was kind of footloose and wild. And I got into trouble in sixth grade and at the last day of sixth grade. And we moved to Georgia and kind of the same thing. I got a job immediately. At a restaurant, working as a busboy and a dishwasher. I got picked up for the second time, riding my motorcycle. At that time, I didn't have a street bike. I got a dirt bike, and my best friend had one too, and we got picked up for the second time by one of these DeKalb County sheriff for riding on the state highway. And so, now my dad has got 2 records of me having trouble. So we moved to Kenner. And I started out at Barbary Middle School in the 8th grade. And my mother married Virgil, and we lived over there on Williams Boulevard, right by the airport. And I was hanging with some older guys that, didn't have the greatest influences. And they were building some duplexes. And on a Friday night, we were in there just being kids, having a good time. And Jefferson Parish Police showed up, and myself and 2 other guys got picked up and went to juvenile hall and spent Friday and Saturday night in juvenile hall. And probably the best thing that ever happened to me was that Sunday when my father and my brother picked me up with the small trailer with my belongings in it. And I moved in with Jimmy and with my dad, my stepmother, my stepsister. And that's kind of when the buck stopped right there.
Right.
Jimmy was this incredible influence at that point. I mean, he was way more precocious as an eighth grader than I was as an eighth grader. And so, he was into lifting weights and boxing and working out with Robert Smith. And, it took me quite a bit to keep up with him and Robert Smith and learn how to be a better boy than a wild kid,
Right. Then a wild wannabe young man,
Yeah,
Need
exactly.
to be a boy again,
That's right.
Without a doubt. The old Robert, that's probably, I remember Robert, man, because he went to same elementary school as me. Robert was a hell of a natural athlete, man.
He was.
Hell of a natural athlete. No, good story, Sean. I appreciate you, the depth of what you just told us there. But it just shows things of old school ways of doing things, because some of those things you said, I know you guys can't even imagine your children doing those types of things. And I could sure as hell say it for my boys. There's no way in hell that, they would experience the type of things I did when I was 13, 14, 15 years old. I can't even fathom it, So
Jay, it truly was an absolute different world.
Oh, without a doubt.
And the fact that, the legal drinking age was 18, which was never enforced, just never was. And
Not really.
the time you were 14 years old, you could be out on Bourbon Street every single weekend and just drink and do whatever you want to do, and then drive back home to the West Bank.
Right.
I mean, it was
just a different time and place, man. Different time and place. So we're getting to where you guys were at eighth grade, and talk to me how you guys ended up at Shaw. Now, I know, Jimmy, you were at Curtis first, but talk to me about how y'all got over to Shaw, and then we'll spend a little bit of time talking about Archbishop Shaw. Go ahead, Jimmy.
So right, eighth grade, I go to Curtis, and at the end of the year, Sean joins, midway through, as we just talked about. He goes to Curtis as well, so we're at Curtis together, and got to play, I think, baseball together, and a little bit of basketball. So he joined the basketball team too. He dressed out, but he's laughing. But
well, Jimmy, and spring football
and spring football, that is true. That's right. You did.
Wait a minute. I'm a coattail in just a minute, but go ahead.
All right. So it's that summer, and loved Curtis. Great place athletically, great environment. Just wanted something different in high school. Had always idolized Archbishop Shaw and John Forcade and Steve Mott and Angelo Provenzano and Gary Gregory and all these guys, and so made the decision that we were going to transfer that summer. And so my dad said, okay. And so we got in his car. We drove to Shaw. We walked in. Mr. Coulon was sitting in his office, and my dad walks us in and, said, hey, we'd like to be incoming freshmen. And back then they said, okay, that's it. Here you are. And so and then my dad wanted to go back to the gym. He goes and introduces us to Coach Z, and I walk in, and I was a bigger kid, and Z looks at me and he goes, "You gonna be a freshman?" And next thing you know, he's got me on the field, and we're running plays. Sean's snapping the ball, and Z's handing me the ball because he thinks I could be a running back.
Right. I love it.
And so that's how we ended up at Shaw in the fall of '79.
Okay.
So Jay, we play spring football, right, at Curtis, and I'm an eighth grader, Jimmy's an eighth grader, and a couple of things happened in eighth grade that were pretty profound. The first of which is that there was a future NFL running back at John Curtis at the time, Reggie Dupont, right? And several LSU All-Americans. I mean, Scott Bailey was a linebacker, and Jimmy, who was the other?
Steve Rehage, Darren Marlborough.
That team, that Curtis football team, was just laden with all these incredible football players that either went on to play in the NFL or had fantastic college careers.
In Double A.
That's correct.
Right,
in
Jimmy?
Double A.
In Double A.
Double A.
And so Scott Bailey, I'm on the sidelines, and I'm a little eighth grade linebacker, right? And Scott Bailey's on the field, and I don't know, he made some kind of read wrong that Leon Curtis didn't like, right? And so he pulls Scott Bailey off, and he says, I need a linebacker. And I just jumped in, and he grabs me, and I run in. Now, I'm playing the middle linebacker spot that Scott Bailey was just at, right? And Scott Bailey, now you need to understand, whatever age he was, he had a full chest of hair, he had a full beard, he was a grown-ass man, okay? I mean, and I was this fat little chubby eighth grader, right?
Right.
And I knew that, if the guard pulls, I'm going to fill the hole, right? Okay, I'm not going with the guard, I'm sticking in my position. And sure enough, they hand the ball off and to Reggie Dupart, and I read it as fate would have it. I read it properly, and I hit Dupart, and I tackled Dupart at the line, right? Damn. Okay, went low, but I tackled Reggie Dupart, and Leon Curtis was like, who is this? Who is that? JT was on this side. Don't you hit my star running back? I mean, come on, He pulls me off to the sideline, and everybody's on the sideline, and I'm the new kid on the block. I mean, everybody really knows Jimmy. Everybody's high-fiving me, a memory that lives with me my whole life. I tackled Reggie Dupart. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, Dupart came. He was SMU right after the Pony Express.
SMU, yep.
With Jimmy, with Emile Gilliard.
Emile Gilliard,
a West Banker.
Nice. Yeah, I know they had some talent on those teams, man, throughout the years and everything they did. But I definitely remember Reggie Dupart for sure. So Sean tackled Reggie Dupart for us, man. Look out. I love it.
A memory forever.
I love it. Well, Jimmy, we're going to talk about your famous tackle. We're going to talk about your famous tackle in a minute.
All right. I just want to make sure.
I'm going to give you equal billing, man. I promise you. Okay, so now you guys are at Shaw, and y'all are starting. And I think y'all first year is probably when my sophomore year. So that's when Aguilar was quarterbacking. Glenn was quarterbacking.
Glenn was the quarterback.
Really good squad that year, I thought. And, man, who else? Hugh Smith was still there.
Hugh Smith, Neil Bordelon.
Yeah, Bordelon.
Mark Fredrickson. Yep. Juan Smith.
Yep.
Mike, who's the fullback, number 44? Mike Kane.
Mike Kane, Perry Muller.
Goose Gilliard. God bless him. R.I.P.
Yeah, God bless Goose, man.
Yep.
Without a doubt.
And I ended up being on the varsity my freshman year.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal. There were three freshmen that made the varsity that year. It was me, Chester Abear, and Mark Dufresne. And I tell you, man, that team came out of nowhere. We went 9-1, won 11 quad A.
Yep.
And so that was big back then because you got a patch for your Letterman's jacket.
The big state. The big
state. 11.
The big state on
baby.
The jacket. Yep.
District champs.
Yes, indeed.
And,
dude, that was a team with the receivers with Gennaro and Cucci. Cedric. Man, how the hell did I forget Cedric? Joe Jackson.
Joe Jackson.
Joe was
he played.
Safety.
Joe Jackson went both ways. He played defense.
Robert Jackson.
Lance was a wide receiver.
That's right.
Yep.
Lance was we had the Jackson 3, I think, on that squad. Joe was good, man. I remember Joe was good. He wore those sunshine yellow pants on Fridays on game days.
Yep. And
they had some talent. They had some talent on those teams, man.
Arnold Pig Wilson.
91, baby.
Wilson. Yep.
I'll never forget Pig stealing Timmy Bird's rag and doing an alley shuffle on him in the middle of the field.
Man, I got to tell you, man, we were scrimmaging. Goodness gracious, what school was it? Abramson High School. So we had a scrimmage with them, and all of a sudden, some guy, and it's at Abramson, right? And so all of a sudden, some guy's got this big old boom box, and he comes up, near the field, and he's jamming. Right. And I never forget Joe Jackson going, "Oh, ladies and gentlemen, the Abramson Marching Band."
Oh, man. I can see that, too. You know who Coach Fred Dufred. Coach Fred said one of the toughest football players he's ever seen was Pig Wilson. Was
My
Arnold
gosh,
Wilson.
man.
He said that's one of the toughest football players he ever saw. You know, so that's a prop coming from Coach Fred, man. You know,
Pig's the one that got hurt against Holy Cross that I went in on the kickoff return, the kickoff team on.
okay,
So
all right.
that's another story. We'll tell that one later.
Okay, so let's talk about you guys are at Shaw now. You're moving in, and we talked about the sophomore year. So the junior year is my senior year, and so we kind of skipped over a year when Robert and I think Lou Rocha were kind of sharing quarterback
Yep.
that year. And they had a pretty good team that year. That's when I think Juan Smith really ran up a lot of yards that year in running back because I think they're still playing a veer. Yeah, they were still playing a veer back then. And then so they're a pretty good squad that
Troy
year. Mike
Lewis.
Kane was what's that?
Troy Lewis.
Troy was number one, baby. Troy, that was a hell of an athlete. Troy was
Phenomenal.
a hell of an athlete. Hell
Baseball,
of an athlete.
football, you name it. That guy
You pick a
play.
sport, man. He's just that dude can play anything.
Yeah, but he looked like a pro when he was doing it. I mean, he had the moves like you were looking at someone on TV. You know, whether he was playing linebacker or he was playing baseball, he was so smooth.
It was just he just had it, man. You know,
He did.
Troy did the funniest thing I ever saw in golf, man. We were playing golf one time. I was in a foursome with him, and I think Sonny was with us and somebody else. Troy stuck the head of his golf club, his driver, in a big ass ant pile. He just moved his club head and put it on Sonny's shoe.
Oh God, that's funny, man. Gosh.
Brechtel, was this at Brechtel?
Oh no, I wasn't at Brechtel. This was some golf tournament somewhere. I don't remember. But man, we were. I think Mike Stahl was with us. We were rolling laughing. Man. Sonny's like, man, you son of a man! He's cursing and jumping up and down. He was had about 8 ant bites on him because nobody said anything after he did it.
Sonny was not going to fight Troy Lewis. I just want to
No.
for the world to know. I love Sonny Martin, but he was not going to fight Troy Lewis.
No. Who else? Big Beck was on them squads, man. Big Beck now.
Big Beck, Mark Beck now. You know, man, if you do a search, it's online. There is that year's all-district team you can find online, and you see each of the players come up and introduce themselves. You know, Juan Smith, running back. Archbishop Shaw. You know, and then it gets to the end, Troy Lewis, punter. And I'm like, and then he comes back on the defense too. So he was twice on the all-district team.
Yeah, he was a punter too. I forgot about that. You know? And not just a punter; he was a damn all-district punter. You know,
exactly.
Wasn't he left-handed? I think he was left-handed. Wasn't he a southpaw?
That I don't remember.
I think he was left-handed, dude. I don't remember. Troy was he was a freakish athlete, man. He just a funny dude, man. Just funny as hell too.
But of all those guys that you guys are talking about, there's only a couple of them that actually played college football. I mean, Robert Jackson played college football. Aguilar played at Southeastern, didn't he?
No. He played junior college football 1 year, and then I think he went back to baseball.
Fredrickson played.
Glenn was what Shaw needed at that time, man. After all that, the year before with Pat Foley and those guys, because that was like Pat Foley and it was sandwiched between Forcade and Glenn Aguilar, you know.
Right.
So, but didn't Fredrickson?
They had some talent. That was my freshman
year. Fredrickson played at Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
Who's that?
Yep.
Mark Fredrickson
played at Ole Miss.
Yeah, he played at Ole Miss.
Went to Cornell.
Keith. Who, Jimmy?
Hugh Smith went to Cornell. He played at Cornell.
Yep.
And I don't think Juan played any ball. He might have. I don't remember that. Becknell.
I think Jeff Rishu played at Southeastern or
right, but that was the year before.
That was before.
Yeah, that was the year before. That's right. They had some talent.
Daryl Centeni walked on.
Centeni walked on USL.
Oh, yeah, Daryl. Yeah, Big D. Man, it was good seeing him lately at your crawfish bowl, Jimmy. That was cool. I talked to Daryl a lot that evening. That was cool to see him, man. We talked.
Hey, you know one we didn't mention that needs to get mentioned? Leroy Ledette.
Oh yeah, no question
about it. Two sports.
That's right.
Two-sport guy.
Yeah, Leroy.
Football and basketball.
Man. Yeah,
and he was 5'9".
He was not the biggest guy.
No.
Leroy Ledette was tough.
He was tough.
Johnny Grove.
He was tough.
Yeah.
Who's that?
5'6" Johnny Grove.
Johnny Grove.
Johnny Grow was strong, man.
Would hit a 6'4" guy and never even think twice about it.
No, that was a pure West Bank team, man. And then we win 2 playoff games. We get to the quarterfinals, and that's when Coach Z decided to run a fake punt. Didn't quite go it our way. Covington scores, and we lose 17-12.
Right.
And that's exactly how my freshman year went. Covington, Louisiana.
Yeah.
Cold and rainy.
No, that was East St. John.
Oh, that's right.
East St. John was the cold.
Louis Lips.
Louis Lips, baby.
Louis Lips.
All right, let's talk about him, Jimmy. Let's talk about him.
All right, man. I'm going to do this story quickly. So it's my freshman year. It's Thanksgiving week. We're going to play East St. John, second round of the playoffs. Back then, the weatherman was Nash Roberts, and he said the same thing every night, right? And so, we didn't realize that it was actually, the weather was going to change because we leave Shaw, and it's like 70 degrees, and everybody's got their half shirts or jerseys. Nobody has cold weather gear.
Right.
And we go all the way to Reserve, Louisiana for the playoff game. Man, by the middle of the first quarter, that weather changes fast.
Dude,
and it gets cold and rainy, dude. And I'm talking like in the 30s and raining.
And windy.
And so it's a 0-0 game. We kick off to start the second half, and I'm on the kickoff team as a freshman, and I'm running down the field, and Louis Lips grabs the kickoff, and I go in to tackle. Now, Rennis Blanchard will tell you that he comes in too, and he might have as well. But we both hit Louis Lips, but it was me that was actually on him. And Louis Lips loses the ball, and he fumbles. And we recover like at the 1 yard line on the opening kickoff.
Right.
We score. We make the extra point, and eventually they score, but the weather's so bad they can't complete the extra point. We win
7-6.
Yep.
Now,
dude, Rennis was probably biting him on the elbow while you had him wrapped up, though, Jimmy.
It might be, but I'm telling you, man, you see me on the tackle, bro.
I love it.
So, I love it. We're gonna need to ask Robbie Sanchez to find this and do a replay for us, because if anybody can find it, it's Robbie Sanchez.
That's probably true,
doubt.
Man.
Yeah, no doubt.
Got to mention Big Benny on this.
Yeah. Hey, and bringing up Louis Lips, I don't know how many people in our audience might know, but he went on to play for Southern Miss, right?
Yep, Southern Miss,
and then he played for the Pittsburgh Steelers for many years. And I can tell you, I seen him play baseball. That's probably one of the better baseball players I've ever seen before was Louis Lips. So man, so claim to fame. So we got Reggie Dupar being wrapped up by one of the Hintz brothers and Louis Lips by the other one. I love it.
Hey, we haven't even got to LSU yet, man.
That's right. So anyway, all right. So we're at Shaw, and man, I'm gonna bring it up. Because I love bringing this up. So it's my senior year, you guys' junior year, and we're playing Jesuit. It was the long-awaited game that year, and Mike Toops. Yeah, I'm sure you will hear in a second. And one of my really good friends since we were in high school, Mike Toops is running back on a tear at that time. Had over 1,000 yards, I think, or damn close to 1,000 yards going into what, Jimmy, the 6th or 7th game of the year, I think.
Yep.
And we're playing Jesuit, and we win the game. And
miraculously
win the game. And man, I'm at 20 something to 19.
28, 25.
25. And I think Mike had about 195 yards rushing in the game, man. It was ridiculous. 3
touchdowns.
Yeah, and he was just on fire. And I think against St. Aug that year, he threw for a touchdown, he caught a touchdown, and he ran for a touchdown against St. Aug a couple of weeks before. And, man, he just went off. It was Mike this way. Ernie Dangine had a pretty good game, too, and give Ernie some props. And but, man, the O-line for Shaw with Jimmy and Mike DeCarry and DuCoin and who else was on that, Jimmy? Who's that?
Doug Daigle and Sanchez.
Doug Daigle, Sanchez did a hell of block in that game. Joey was still there for that. Joey Rodriguez, Big Joe, Big Sledge.
Yeah.
Was still there that week.
He was still there.
Big Joe. And the defense, was anchored by Duck Prestonberg and Rennis in the middle. Kevin was just as fast as almost anybody in the damn team, and just a hell of a effort there. But Jimmy, we had to bring that game up because I know it's one of your favorite memories at Shaw. Sean, I'm sure it is for you too. But just talk to me a little bit about that game.
Well, there's a little bit of controversy for all you out in the listening audience, but
A little bit, man.
I mean, it was a hype game. We played it at Pan American Stadium.
Yeah, it was a Pan American. I'm sorry, Pan American.
Yep, man, it's one of those days I'll never forget. Like almost the whole day. Back then you'd get out of school at 3 o'clock, and you'd have maybe about 2 hours, and then you'd gather up around 4:30, 5 o'clock, and then you'd take the bus over. And of course, at Shaw, we had really, really luxurious 50-year-old school buses,
Right.
and with no heaters.
Painted green.
Painted green.
Painted
But
green.
everyone was always serious, man. You'd meet in the gym. Everyone would get dressed. It was just, everyone was always serious. But that night, everybody was a little more serious.
Wait a minute, hold on. And John Burrow, with one eye, was driving the bus across the Great New Orleans Bridge. One eye, John Burrow.
And so we leave Shaw, we drive over, man, and we get there. It's a beautiful, absolute gorgeous New Orleans Friday night. Stands are packed, and I mean it's the game of the week, and Shaw Jesuit, and we take a lead, they come back, we take a lead, they come back, and then they go up on us 25-21, and we can't convert on fourth down, and we give up the ball, and we think the game is over. I mean, there's like less than 2 minutes to go. We don't have any timeouts, and they still have to run a couple of plays, and on one fateful play, they hand the ball to Ernie Dangine, Ernie Dangine was an absolute incredible high school running back, tough as nails, West Banker, who crossed the river to go to Jesuit. And, I've seen the film a few times, and, I could see how it could be called a fumble.
Yeah. Well, it's because Darren Adams was such
sold it.
It was Darren Adams.
Darren Adams sold that. And suddenly comes up with the ball, and the officials are standing right there, and they give us the ball. They give us hope. And so the stands, the sideline erupts,
Oh, it was crazy. Yeah,
I did forget to mention the halftime show when the Jesuit Bird and the Shaw Eagle got
in a fight.
That's how bad it was. And so we get the ball back, and like on the second play, we throw a deep pass. Joey
Williams
to Mega Williams.
Joey Popham to Mega Williams, baby.
Mega with the Willie Mays catch, man.
Mega catches it, gets tackled at the 2-yard line, and everybody knows what's going to happen next.
Oh,
Number 14. 14's getting the ball.
14's got it, baby.
14's getting the ball. And they call the play, and it's going right over the right side where yours truly was the starting offensive tackle. And
who was the guard on that side?
What's that?
Who was the guard on the right side?
Guard on that side was Darren Ducoin. So
Ducoin, okay, yeah.
It went from left to right. It went Sanchez, Doug Gable, McCary, Darren Ducoin, and me.
Nice.
And they run right over right tackle, and I happened to get a really good block. I had a couple of good blocks, well, a lot of good blocks that game. And I pancaked the guy I was blocking, and 14 goes untouched into the end zone.
Yeah, I remember that. That was crazy.
Jay,
like you said, everybody knew who was getting that ball right there, man.
No doubt.
Everybody.
Jay, I want to say something. I know Jimmy is not going to say himself, but that year that we played Jesuit, there were 3 teams that year that had future All-Americans that all went to LSU, okay, that played defensive tackle. Jorge Enriquez, John Hazard, Tommy Clapp, and Roland Barbay.
Roland Barbay, yep.
Dalvin Ben.
Yeah, that was St. Aug, though.
No, that was Walker.
Walker.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Walker. Excuse me. Yeah, but I don't remember you having to block Dalvin Ben. But
First game
yeah,
against
Walker was our first game tradition.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. But Jimmy, on that junior year, Jimmy played over, and Lou Valden, I'll never forget Lou Valden, pointing it out that, 5 foot, we called him 5'10". Jimmy Hintz, that year was against 4 or 5 Division I All-Americans. He blocked 4 or 5 future All-Americans, and they were all great. I mean, Roland Barbe played for Detroit in the NFL, and went on to greatness. And is a good guy. And Jimmy Hintz was blocking, whether it was at Holy Cross or playing against St. Aug or Jesuit or Brother Martin. I mean, these guys were way bigger, and he was an undersized guy that just wouldn't give up. That's the truth.
Well, one thing I always said about your brother Sean is that Jimmy's cool, really cool guy, but man, Jimmy and I always got along. He's a cool guy, but boy, tough as nails, man. Tough as nails. That's what I always said about Jimmy, because man, it was the next week he went down, and man, that was the biggest heartbreaking thing I think I've ever seen in sports, from a personal level. Because like I said, Mike was a good friend, before that. And the year before he had mono and he couldn't play.
Yep. So
he had mono and he couldn't play, but they had, Juan Smith that year. But man, Mike came on like gangbusters, the next year, and just a natural athlete, man. But Mike had some size though,
He did.
So, and speed.
Changed some lives there, man. Because if Mike Tubes doesn't go down, we go deep in the playoffs.
Oh, we go deep in the playoffs, and Mike probably goes to Alabama because he and I had many talks.
He plays running back for the Bears.
He was going to Alabama, no doubt. He told me. I remember the people coming to school, Jimmy. You remember? I mean, they had not Bear Bryant, but they had some of the assistant coaches and all come over to the school that a couple of weeks before that and everything. He was making that much of an impact, but that was a reflection on the O-line as well, in my opinion, because we, like you said, we just had some undersized guys, man, going against some of these big cats, man, and, the true litmus test was Eric in that jamboree game with, their guys that 2-3 years older than us played in high school, And,
right. Hey, grandkids, dude.
Yeah. So these guys had goatees and earrings, man. Sophomores in high school, man, So anyway, I graduated and left, and you guys are seniors over there. And who was quarterbacking? Popham and Mickey, I think.
Mickey Gidry came on board.
Yeah, Sean, you went full-time starting, I think, then, right?
I did, right.
Yeah. At center, correct?
That's right. We had to move Jimmy, who was guy played on it. The guy walked on at LSU with you.
Tommy Austin?
Tommy Austin. I couldn't think of his name. Tommy Austin. He played left guard, center, and Sanchez on one tackle, and you on the other tackle.
Okay.
Yeah, I got moved to guard.
How'd y'all do that? How'd y'all do y'all senior year? I don't remember.
6-4.
Yeah.
6-4.
Let down season for everybody. We had so much talent.
Who was running back? Who was running back that year?
Trey Dufresne.
Glenna Stopinall.
Trey. Man, you talk about undersized,
That's right.
Trey could scat, though. I'll give him
David Buggins.
David Buggins.
That's right. I forgot about Buggins.
Yeah,
That's
right.
David,
yeah. David could play, man. He had some moves. Shifty, I think,
But so did Stopinall. I mean, Stopinall had some really good wiggle.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. Nice. All right, so you guys graduate Shaw. This is where the fun starts. So talk to me about after y'all graduated, Jimmy, and what were y'all thinking about as moving on to y'all next year here?
Jay, man, growing up, we both had a dream, and that dream was never to be an NFL player, anything like that. It was about playing college football someplace. That was our dream. And so Sean and I, we weren't getting that many recruiting notices. I mean, we were, 5 foot. Well, on the recruiting profile, we said that might have stretched at about 3 inches. Okay. Yeah. So we decided to do a little, self-recruiting. And so we sent out tape and letters to a bunch of college coaches, and we got a ton of responses. They looked at our film, they liked what they saw, and one school in particular that came back was the school in Atchison, Kansas, Benedictine College. And I still have that first recruiting letter, Jay, and it was signed by a guy named Larry Wilcox. Nice. And Sean and I looked at the brochure because, we were too poor to do recruiting trips. That was unheard of.
Right.
So we just looked at the brochures and we said, all right, let's go to school here.
Well, hold on, back up 1 second. there were actually 3 offers that were solid. It was NDSU, North Dakota State,
Okay.
Iona College in New Rochelle, New York, and Benedictine College. Those are the 3 solid offers that were going to help us financially to go to school. And NDSU was just not appealing to us because, it was bitter cold. And then, to go to when we found out that Iona was a commuter college, and so, here we were going to be from another state living on a small campus where everybody else is going home, and we're going to be on campus, with just a few other students. That wasn't real appealing. And we had gone to Catholic grammar school, Catholic high school, sight unseen. We signed these letters of intent to go to Benedictine, and off we go.
Sight unseen, August 1983.
Obviously, y'all thought it was there we go, but what happened shortly after y'all got in the car?
Well, we pack up my 72 Datsun B210 with no air conditioning, and got about a mile outside the house, and it broke out.
That's right.
And so, guess I wasn't bringing a car to college. Wasn't meant to be. And so,
talk to me how you got there.
So my dad had said, look, the plan was we were going to drive in 2 cars up there, and then they were going to take a car back.
Okay.
1 car back. So my dad got a good friend of ours, another Shaw guy, Kevin Steele, Big Daddy.
Big Daddy Steele, man.
Big Daddy with his Corvette. And so Big Daddy drove up with us. And so now we got to take 2 cars, none of which are staying. And so my dad and Big Daddy have to drive back each in a car, 15 hours, straight. And, but that's how we ended up at Benedictine College in Atchison, Kansas in August of 1983, and walk into the South Campus cafeteria, and first guy we meet is this guy, Coach Denny Murphy. And he walks up to us and he goes, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Coach Denny Murphy." That's how we talk, for real. And we said, "Hey, we're Jimmy and Sean Hintz." And he goes, "The Louisiana connection." I was like, "Yeah, exactly. That's us."
Right.
And so that's how we got introduced to Benedictine College. And, Jay, I'll tell you, man, probably the best decision I ever made was to go to school there. My dad told Sean and I, get away from Louisiana as far as you can. Go find a different culture. Go learn about the world. That's what college is about. And my dad was really, really good at giving advice. He just didn't listen to a lot of his own advice.
Yeah.
But he gave us that solid advice, and we ended up there. And it was a great school, man. It is an unbelievable, special place. The friends and bonds that we made there are literally for a lifetime. I still talk to those guys all the time. And just some really, really cool people. Coach Wilcox literally recruited the whole country. So we had guys from Jersey and Florida and Chicago and California and a bunch from Texas, the whole Midwest. And we were a big melting pot in Atchison, freaking Kansas.
That's crazy, man.
It was a fun place, man. Some good stories.
So, Jay, listen to this story about we were probably a week or 2 before school was going to start. Kevin and my dad drop us off the next day. He meets Wilcox, introduces us, gets us moved into our dorms on the south side of campus, and he and Kevin take off. And so now we got about a week or 2 of freshman orientation, right?
Right.
And at the time, the freshmen were all on South Campus, which is where the convent once was, because it used to be St. Benedict's and Mount St. Scholastica. And then they merged to become Benedictine College, right?
So is it a Catholic college?
It is America's best Catholic college, yes.
Understood.
And most conservative.
Understood. Okay.
And so they ended up, moving it to the North Campus, which is on the Missouri River. But at the time, we're going from one campus to the other campus in these vans, right? All these freshmen. It's a true story. Now, I need you to understand that Atchison is about 45 minutes away from the federal prison, Leavenworth, 45
Okay.
minutes away from Leavenworth, Kansas, okay, where the federal prison is. So now I'm sitting in the back of this van, right? And we're traveling over to North Campus. There's the resident assistant.
Yeah, RA.
Junior, senior, he's driving the van, and he's asking everybody to, introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, and how did you learn about Benedictine College, right? And so the first guy in the front says, well, my father came here to be a priest, and he met a girl from town, and they fell in love, and, got 7 kids in our family, and, they all come to Benedictine because my dad came here to go to St. Benedict, right? And the next girl says something like, well, my aunt came here to, to be a nun and met so-and-so. And each one of the stories is about one of the family members, either their mother or their father or the aunt, who had come to Atchison to be the priest or a nun. And I'm sitting in the back. And if you know me, come on. So they get to me,
the wheels
right?
are turning, right?
The wheels are turning, baby. Look, I'm in the back of the van. They get to me. And I said, my name is Sean Hintz. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. I came here because my dad is doing 7 to 10 in Leavenworth for embezzlement. And I'm here to visit him on the weekends. My brother and I want to be able to visit him. Look, the van stops. Everybody turns around. Are you serious? Hey, man, I want to see my dad on weekends. What can I say? All right, that's why we're here.
Jimmy, I bet he's so. We'll be right back to In the Pocket with J-Bo right after this message. Bayou Junction is a dynamic party band based in North Houston, dedicated to making every event unforgettable with their electrifying performances. Named to represent the best of the Bayou City of Houston and the bayous of New Orleans and Louisiana, we bring a rich blend of musical traditions that guarantee a fantastic time for all occasions. We bring this unique blend to every performance, making sure your event is filled with fun, energy, and great music. Let Bayou Junction Band be the highlight of your next event. Contact us today to book a performance that will have everyone talking. You can reach us at BayouJunction@yahoo.com. That's BayouJunction@yahoo.com. Hold it like there's no tomorrow, man.
Oh, he can sell it, man. Because he was so authentic about it,
I love it.
True story, dude. True story.
I'm Sean Hintz. My dad's doing 7 to 10.
At Leavenworth.
I believe it. Oh, man. So how long were y'all at Benedictine College together?
Well, we were there for 3 semesters, so we played 2 football seasons at Benedictine. Okay. And the thing about college at Benedictine was a little bit different for the 2 of us, because I always took second chair to Jimmy in high school. I mean, not only was he a year older, but Jimmy was just a tough guy.
Right.
He fought everybody. He never took shit from anybody, and he was never afraid. I always thought of my brother as kind of a warrior. Right. He never backed down from anyone. Those are tough shoes to fill, but he was just a better football player than I was in high school, and had more opportunity to prove that. But when we got to Benedictine, it was a little bit different. We had been working out at Grecian Health Studio, which later became.
I was there with y'all during that when we were all there with Jim. Yep.
My 40 time had dropped considerably. I had been running a consistent 4.740 at the time, and my bench, my vertical were pretty good that freshman year. And Jimmy didn't make travel squad that freshman year. The first game. And
right.
I'm on the kickoff team. I'm on the punting team. I'm playing as a freshman at Benedictine, and he's not getting that opportunity. And so it was a bigger pill for him to swallow. And I felt for him, because Jimmy had the capability to be on the field, but there was at least one coach that didn't see the type of football player that he really was. Mm-hmm. He didn't see that in Jimmy. And so he didn't get that opportunity. And so here we were as freshmen and sophomores at Benedictine, and I was on the field quite a bit and doing pretty well. Jimmy had to switch positions in order to get on the field. He had to move over to offense, and once he did so, he was given that opportunity to shine, and he did well at Benedictine. But I was only there for those 2 seasons, those 3 semesters, and then that's when we left and came back to Baton Rouge.
So I got to tell one quick story about that, Jay. It was the second or third game. We were on the road against Nebraska Wesleyan University in Lincoln, Nebraska, and literally on the opening kickoff, we were kickoff return. A guy who ends up eventually being a Hall of Fame offensive lineman at Benedictine, a guy named Jeff Pirog, gets knocked out and is done on the opening kickoff.
Wow.
And so they turn, and nobody knows who's going in for Pirog.
No, Jimmy, hold on. The second string guy goes in, the tall kid from Iowa with the black hair. I can't think of his name. He goes in, and on the first series, he goes down with an ankle or a knee injury. Now the third string guy goes in.
And that's Shawn Hintz. And Shawn Hintz is suddenly out there in a college football game as a true freshman against Nebraska Wesleyan University. Shawn Hintz kicks ass.
Nice.
And at the end of the game, literally end of the game, Larry Wilcox, we win. And he says, offensive most valuable player, Shawn Hintz. And he gets MVP of the game, dude.
Nice.
How about that?
Dude, Jimmy, remember, I had an earring, remember, in my left ear, not thinking that, and I'm going down on the kickoff, J-Bo, I'm going down on this kickoff, and I make this tackle, and somehow my helmet rips the earring out. And so now I make a tackle on the kickoff, and I got blood pouring down the side of my neck. And coming off the field, you make a good tackle, and you got blood coming out of your face. It's a good scene, baby.
Right.
That's real football right there, man.
So, Jimmy, he's the warrior now, right?
Well, that year.
No, I'm talking about the blood on the tackle with that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we got to give him some props, man. No, that's awesome, Sean. That's
big time,
awesome.
man. Yeah.
Look, and knowing Jimmy, man, he's extremely proud of you when that was going on, dude, because he knows you were kind of, co-pilot, with him through the Shaw years and all that stuff. He knows that. So I'm sure for him to see that, he's very, very proud of you. But we know that fire that burns in Jimmy's gut. So we know he's not done yet with things either as well, So you guys are wrapping it up after the second football season at Benedictine. And so tell me what happens there. What's your mindset and what happens from there?
So we make the decision that we're going to transfer, and we're going to go to LSU. Darryl Crawford reaches out. We're going to live with Darryl and Bill Bopple. So we get
jelly.
Exactly, man. Oh, and the
peanut butter jelly.
Yep. So we get to Baton Rouge, and we're going to go to school there. And I make the decision early on. I'm not done with football, man. I got something to prove. I got something to prove. I didn't get a real chance at Benedictine, and by golly, I know I'm a better football player than that.
Right.
And so, I got a lifelong dream running through the goalposts at Tiger Stadium. So I walk on. In January of 1985, was very fortunate that Nacho Albergamo and Ron Sancho were there, and Tommy Austin was there, and so I was a walk-on, but I wasn't a true outsider. I had played at Curtis with Darren Mulber and Troy and Ray Hodge and Scott Bailey, and played against Hazard and Enrique and Mike Cobb and Jeff Brignac and all these guys, from the Catholic League. At least they knew who I was. Yeah. 11 Quad A. So I walk on and go through spring ball. And then summer football, and then fall of '85, we go to the Liberty Bowl, and I dress out. I'm I'm in the team picture, Jay, right there.
I
Got it
love
in
it.
my office here. And travel, got to dress out for bunch of 4 games actually, and go to Liberty Bowl. Then the next spring, I'm back at LSU, going through spring ball, and it was at that point where I realized this was fun. It was awesome. It was an incredible experience. I literally lived a lifelong dream. I ran through
Right.
the goalpost at Tiger Stadium with my dad and my brother in the stands, bawling their eyes out. I was
Right.
rooting.
Oh yeah.
And so made the decision to call Benedictine, call Coach Wilcox, and asked him if I could come back. And he said, "Hey, when I told you when you left, the door's always open." And so summer of '86, I go back to Benedictine and was on an incredible team that year. I got to use my red shirt year at LSU as a red shirt, so I had another year of eligibility, and so I played there fall of '86 and the fall of '87,
Nice.
and graduated and got to start and play and have a lot of fun and be a part of something special, man.
Absolutely. Sean, you stayed at LSU, I think, right?
I did.
Okay.
So I
First time you
joined a
guys had been
fraternity.
apart in a while, you know.
Say it again.
First time you guys had been apart in a while.
We did. Jimmy and I had both gotten jobs when we moved in with Daryl and Bill. Well, first we had a little bit of catching up to do. I got to tell you, it was a big turning point for me was living with Daryl Crawford. And you got to remember, in high school, Daryl was like me. I mean, a little bit of a goof off. I mean, we certainly took hard classes together, but didn't really put a whole lot of effort into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get, to Baton Rouge, and Daryl Crawford is pre-med,
Right.
on the
Right.
dean's list, okay,
Right.
and wanting to go to medical school. And at that point, I was really kind of interested mostly in 2 things, chasing tail and quarter draft. And so I'm doing quite a bit of that and joined a fraternity. Pat Hand and I, we rushed a fraternity where Darren Caramana and Alan Harmon, Jeff
Yep.
Miller, and
Yep.
Mark Gentry were all all Shaw guys who
All
were
Shaw
all
dudes, yep.
Dells. And it was a big turning point for me because I was the vast majority of that first semester at LSU was catching up more than anything, and living a little bit of a wild life at that point. And it was when Daryl Crawford says to me one Wednesday night when I'm getting ready to go out, he's like, "Sean, you're taking all these loans out. And oh, by the way, it was at 9%. Okay. So
Yeah.
my student loans were at 9%. And he said, "Sean, you're wasting your money and your time. You're not here to go out and drink and chase tail. You're here for a different reason." And I said, "Well, Daryl, I'm going to do what I want to do. You do what you want to do," kind of thing. Right.
Right.
And he says to me, "What are you doing Friday night?" I said, "Well, got a fraternity party I'm going to, but, outside of that, that's it." And he says, "Well, I want you to come with me Friday night." He says, "What time are you going out?" I said, "I don't know, probably around 10 o'clock. He says, "Come with me, and I've got someplace I want to show you." So about 8:45, we get in his Chevette, and we drive on to LSU's campus. We park behind Middleton Library, and we get out. And I said, "What are we doing here, Daryl?" He says, "I want you to come." Now it's 9 o'clock on a Friday night. And he says, "I want you to come in this library and tell me what you see." So we walk in the library, and it's obvious in a matter of seconds while we're walking into Middleton Library what's going on. And he says, "Now wait, let's go to the second floor." So we walk up the stairs, we get to the second floor. The second floor is packed with the same thing that was on the first floor, and it was full of Vietnamese students.
Mm-hmm.
And he turns to me and he says, "You see what's happening here?" He said, "Sean, that's called carpe diem." And I had never even heard that term at that point. He says, "Sean, they're seizing the moment."
Yep.
He said, "Do you remember in 78, 79, when all of the Cambodian and the Vietnamese people were flooding the West Bank, living 15, 20 people to a house?" He says, "These people have been given an opportunity to get an education, and they're seizing the moment. And he says, you're going to be working for them one day. That's what's going to happen, because you're goofing off and they're taking it seriously. It's called Carpe Diem, Sean.
Yep.
And I remember looking up at Daryl Crawford that night, and I looked at him and I said, man, I think you're 100% accurate. He said, I got some thinking, some soul searching to do here. And it was that weekend that I had decided, okay, I've got to change my academic career. I've got to start doing things a little bit differently. Now, you got to remember, I mean, we're talking about GPAs, those first 4 semesters, 2.3, 2.4, 2.2, barely getting by, just enough to get by. And it was at that point that I had to make a decision, what am I going to do? And I had thought of always maybe going to law school. That was something that I thoroughly enjoyed. But my brother was a better debater than I ever was, and I had to make a decision. And it was my stepmother, my freshman year at Shaw, who was the head nurse in the emergency room at West Jeff, who I was good in science and I was good in math at Shaw. And she allowed me to come spend the day in the operating room at West Jeff Hospital. And there was a married couple that were both nurse anesthetists at West Jeff Hospital. And I spent the day with both of them watching surgery, watching what they were doing, right? So it was that point that I had to make a decision. What am I going to do now? I mean, I've got to choose something. And I remembered that nurse anesthesia thing. I went on campus, went to see a guidance counselor, told her what I wanted to do, pulled out a sheet of paper, said, these are the classes you got to take. This is what you need to do. And it's time for you to do it. It just so happened that Alan Harmon was going to do the same exact thing. His father was at the Joel and Smith. He was the anesthesiologist at Joel and Smith. And Alan was going to go to anesthesia school as well. And so I had him as a mentor while he was at the University of North Carolina. I was with Jeff Miller and Pat Han and all these other Shaw guys, Mark Gentry, that were still Delts at LSU. And I became, an active Delta Tau Delta. I got a job running Sports Illustrated. Darren Adams became the day manager. I was the night manager. And got serious with school. That's how it happened. Went to nursing school.
Daryl took the initiative to be a friend, is what he did.
Well, a good friend. And, here's the funny thing about the whole thing. The ironic part is that Daryl, who was Dean's List guy, got accepted to medical school in New Orleans and turned it down, got a loan from his mother, bought a Cinnabon franchise, opened one up in Esplanade. I think he had one in Oakwood and maybe even Lakeside. I know he had one in Lakeside, but I think he had one in Oakwood as well. So he had 3 stores, Cinnabon stores, and he was running those, didn't go to medical school, and ended up meeting a girl and starting a family with her, moving to San Francisco, and never did graduate college. But it got accepted to medical school. Accepted to medical school. And we were lifelong friends. He passed away. Yeah. Jimmy, how long ago did Daryl pass away?
2 years ago.
Yeah, I thought it was about 2 or 3 years ago, man. That was sad when I heard that, man. I was dumbfounded when I heard that. Daryl was always a good guy, man. Just always just a cool, fun, just fun to be around kind of dude, without a doubt.
With all my heart.
So I can tell y'all, what I'm hearing from both of you guys, and these are the kind of stories I love, is because the foundation of my show is based on everyday people with inspiring messages, and they've overcome hurdles and trials and tribulations along the way. And man, both of you have done that. And you had kind of a rough go around with the childhood, and some of that stuff's relative, but the relative being it can affect you at high levels. But you overcame a lot of stuff, a lot of change, a lot of transition. And it shows that if you just work through it, you stick with, your family, and you stick with good friends, you can work through those type of situations. And it's obviously that both of you have and you've excelled. And we've only gotten to the part right now where I was really interested to see, on the military side of things, because I'm a Navy veteran and you guys know that. And so, Jimmy, I'd like you to go first. You graduated from Benedictine. So talk to me about your decision to go into the Army.
Jay, I graduate December of '87, and Benedictine decided that wasn't quite ready to come home to New Orleans yet. Um, the the laws in Kansas were changing on January 1st, 1988. You're going to be able to have alcohol in a bar and a restaurant, which you couldn't have before. You could only have like 3.2 alcohol beer.
Oh,
And so
wow.
I had a
Yeah.
big idea. And my big idea was that while I was at Benedictine, one of my suite mates was a guy named Jamie Mueller, who was a third round draft pick of the Buffalo Bills and was on all those Bills Super Bowl teams.
Okay.
And so Jamie had always told me, if I make it in the league, man, let's do a business. And so in December of 1987, I get this big idea to open up a sports bar, having seen, what happened at LSU with Sports Illustrated. And so
Right.
in January of '88, January 27th, 1988, Mueller's Locker Room was born in Atchison, Kansas, and is still around today. It has grown and morphed and become a sports bar. So I ran that, from the day we opened to that summer. And it was during that summer when I just started realizing that, you know, maybe it was time to go do something a little bit bigger than Atchison, Kansas, and Mueller's Locker Room, and made the decision to try to become a military officer. And so took the ASVAB and all the testing while I was in Kansas. Get a phone call from my dad in August, and he's like, he's getting ready to get divorced again, and he's like, "Hey man, need you to come home. I miss you." And so that's it. I pack up my bags. I turn over everything at Mueller's Locker Room,
Hmm.
and I come home and I get a job as a teacher at Higgins High School. But they also were going to let me coach football and baseball with Coach Wayne Foray,
Oh, yeah.
another Shaw name there. So Wayne was the baseball coach. He makes me his full time assistant, and so during that year, I do all of the further steps necessary to get a slot in the OCS. And so in January of '89, I
Okay.
get accepted to OCS, and I've got to first go to basic training, graduate, and then go to OCS. Now the kicker was, Jay, if you don't pass OCS, you still owe the Army 8 years, and now you're going to be an enlisted man.
Right. Right.
So there was a little bit incentive for me as a 25-year-old college
Right.
graduate who run a bar and had some fun and grew up in New Orleans. I wanted to be, Zach Mayo. Okay, I wanted to go fly
Right. Right.
jets.
Right.
Right. I was going to be that officer and gentleman, and by golly, I was going to find me a Deborah Winger too.
Right.
And so I end up going to basic training July 25th, 1989, Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Graduate in October, straight to OCS. Get to OCS at Fort Benning, Georgia, and I am quickly of the realization that guys like me, and there were about 10 of us, who were called college ops, meaning that you had no Army experience. You just simply graduated college, and the Army was going to give you a chance to be an officer in 14 weeks. And all the guys that were there had been in the Army 10, 15. We had a master sergeant in my OCS class.
Okay. Yeah.
And those guys did not want college ops to graduate.
No.
So there was a concerted effort to get you kicked out.
Right.
And man, I came close, like real close. And I made it. And January 20th of 1990, I graduated from OCS. My brother was right there with my dad and my girlfriend at that time, who later became my wife, Dawn Hintz. And they pinned pinned my bars of gold on, and
Nice.
there I was, and I was going to be a active duty Army officer. And the wisdom of the Army said, you're going to be an air defense officer. I had no idea what that meant. But you're only going to be an air defense officer for 4 years, because then we're going to make you a military intelligence officer.
Okay.
So I spent 4 years as an air defender and then off to military intelligence school. And that was a really, really bad time.
Yeah.
Military intelligence just really sucked. And not only that, but the
Iraqi war, Jimmy.
the command. Well, I didn't even go. I skipped over all that.
Yeah.
1991. But so I ended up eventually in recruiting command. A long story how I got there. Did my command here in Conroe, Texas, and as a recruiting commander.
Oh, I'll be damned, right here.
Right here, man. That's what brought us here.
Gotcha.
And
okay.
Decided to get out in 2000. There was a tough 8-year period from 93 to 2000, and it looked like that whole philosophy was going to keep going. And I said, nope, that's it. I'm getting out. And got out, and 18 months later, 9/11 happened. And the next day, Jay, I picked up the phone. I called the Army. And 3 months later, right hand was raised again in Austin, Texas, and I was Captain Hintz again in the Army National Guard. And then I got to spend 10 years in the Guard, eventually retiring in 2011 as Lieutenant Colonel.
Nice.
There's a lot of other stories and stuff that happened.
I'm sure, like we say, that's for another podcast.
That's right, man.
So, Sean, talk to me about you getting into the Air Force, man.
Well, Jay, for me, it was way different than that. I had spent 2 years working at Methodist Hospital in Houston, getting all the ICU experience that I needed in order to apply for anesthesia school. And, by the time I got to anesthesia school, I had to figure out how was I going to pay for this, because tuition at Texas Wesleyan, it wasn't cheap. So I had to figure out a way. And of course, with my dad had been in the Coast Guard, and my brother was in the Army. It just seemed natural for me, to join the military and serve my country in the same way that my father and my brother had done. So, at the time, I did not want to be in the Army. I just didn't see myself in a MASH unit. And I went to the Air Force recruiting office, and they were so eager. They were giving me a $25,000 signing bonus, and they were going to pay all my tuition and give me a stipend to live. And I was going to owe them 5 years of reserve service for it. So I got commissioned in 94. Started anesthesia school. I'd been married once before, and initiated actually a divorce my first semester in anesthesia school, and became a reserve officer in the Air Force, and served from 94 to 04 proudly as a reserve officer. Had the Air Force Base, had the hospital not closed at Barksdale, I think I would have easily have done 20 in the reserve, because I loved it so much. I thoroughly enjoyed putting on my uniform and serving my country in any capacity that I could.
Nice. Well, I can tell you, I appreciate it, and thank both of you for your service as well. And
thank you, Jay. You were worth it.
Appreciate it. And Jimmy, I'm gonna have to show you a picture of my my uncle one day. I think I may have talked to you about it. I got a picture of Lyndon Johnson pinning a medal on him with the 101st. I'll go get it. It's right here. Hold on a second.
All right, man.
Let me know if you can see this. All right.
Hey, that's the picture from the Forrest Gump movie. Does he pull his pants down to show his ass? No.
That's really amazing, Jay.
Man.
I'm just playing, bro. That's awesome, man. That's really cool, dude. That's
hardcore.
That's not something that just happens, man. When you have the commander in chief.
That was on a barge in Vietnam around 66, I want to say. He was in Korea and Vietnam. And I've got, he's got at least 4 Purple Hearts that I know of. I've got one of them. He passed away a few years ago. He was my dad's older brother. and their
Okay.
older sister, she's got two of them that I know of, the Purple Hearts. And man, he won all kind of things. He was on the cover of Time magazine when the 101st was brought in to integrate the schools in Arkansas and Little Rock. And I've got a
Oh
picture
man.
of that. He's in the background. You can see him, but you can plainly see him. And I'll send a copy of that to you, maybe tomorrow or something if I can remember.
I'd
And
like to see
I
that.
only show that to guys in the Army. I got a picture of it on my phone too, but I only show it to guys in the Army.
So just send it to me. Don't send it to Sean, Jay.
But but that was my hero growing up, man. He was totally my hero. Just an awesome guy, and I've got several of his trophies from parachuting school that he taught back in the early '60s. I mean, just amazing stuff. I got some pictures of him in front of his barracks and all that. And he was a warrant officer during wartime. I know that, but he was a wild card, man. He was a smokers champ while he was in. And Jimmy, 5'8", maybe 5'8", probably the toughest dude I've ever known. He's been deceased for about probably 5 years now, and I still wouldn't mess with him. You know? That's the kind of guy that was. But anyway,
I
I'll only
believe
tell
that.
that to Army guys, man.
And just wants to
Yeah,
serve, wants to wear a uniform again, be part of a team, have a
yep,
common purpose,
yep.
and that's what it was for 21 years. And I mean, I am not ashamed to say I literally cried that last morning when I laced those boots up and I realized this was the very last time I was ever going
Yeah,
to wear
man,
them.
there
And
were
it was
many,
emotional, dude.
yeah, many days I regretted not staying in, and
That's
it just
Groton, right?
you rotten grotten. That's right,
Groton.
rotten
Yep.
grotten.
Yeah.
And
So
yeah, it was something else. Okay, so yeah, those careers in the military with everybody, I think it's great, and I've told this story to a lot of people, a lot of younger people over the years as they're going in, and not that I'm anybody to give great advice to or anything, but I have had quite a few people come to me when they've had a son or a daughter interested in going in, and I think both you guys will appreciate it because some people go into the military to just get away, and then they'll come back doing the same thing or less than what they were doing when they went in. And the one thing I always tell people is you're only going to get out of it what you put into it. And
very true.
I think you guys will 100% mirror that based upon your experience with that. I mean, Sean, you agree, Jimmy?
Well, Jay, let me say this to you about the military. Some of the most hardcore, dedicated, disciplined people that I've been around as an adult for the last 40 years are military people. The people that, I'll sign a contract with you, but our handshake is more important than any contract because your word is your word. And so, I'm the kind of guy that when the B-2 bomber is flying above me on Barksdale Air Force bases, I got to jump out of my car and give a big salute.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It fills me with a sense of pride that not only that the men and women who put the uniform on and are willing to serve, and at some point, there's always that idea that you could give the ultimate sacrifice, and that would be your life serving your country. The people that I'm around I serve a lot of these Army people from Pineville and their children. And it's one of my greatest pleasures in the practice of anesthesia is to take care of these TRICARE people. And serving my country was one of the best things that I ever decided to do. And I still have friends to this day that are from the Air Force and love every aspect of it.
Yeah, copy that. Jimmy, same thing, I'm sure.
Oh, 100%, man. Miss the Army every day, miss the uniform, miss the purpose, miss the mission. Um, incredible people, incredible friends, lots of great memories. Traveled the world, saw the world. Deployed to some zones that were different. But it was very much like growing up in Annandale.
Yep.
So no, it was pretty rough. Yeah.
Yeah, I know
So
what you're saying.
or just the West Bank in general.
Right.
But no, man, it was. I'm very, you know, I'm proud that I'm a retired Army officer.
Absolutely.
The
Yeah, that's
highlight of my life.
one of the main things I say is when people thank me for my service, and I'm very, very, very humble about that type of stuff, especially compared to somebody like my uncle, who was in the trenches in Vietnam and Korea. And I mean, when I say in the trenches, I mean in the trenches, because a few of those
Right.
guys that are in that picture weren't alive. I think he told me about 3 weeks after that picture was taken. That's how serious it was. And one of my things I always say is I did little compared to many, but I'm very proud of the time that I served. It's almost like a canned speech, but I mean it straight from my heart every time I say it, and I'm sure you guys do as well. So
Same way.
let's talk about just give me a little bit of background on your families. Both of you guys have wonderful wives that are, pleasure to know, and accomplished, great children. So just give me a just a little bit about your family. So Jimmy, why don't you go first with you and Dawn on this? And she's gonna
Yeah.
watch, so
So I met Dawn. We'd both gone to Immaculate Deception. I was several years older than her. We were at Shaw and Immaculate at the same time. Never really interacted much. And then fast forward, I'm home after college. I graduated with at Higgins, coaching and teaching, and ended up going to a reunion of everyone who had been on what became known as the I Love New York trip, and with the Salesians. And I decided to go to the reunion. I walk in, they were right at the end of Mass. I look up on the altar, Jay, and it's like 30 girls, and there were 10 guys, and they were the 10 guys that nobody knew in high school,
right.
And I said, I like my odds tonight. And so I walked right over to her and started up a conversation. And then she was at Nichols and came back and wrote a whole script. So when I called her, I had a script to read, and I asked her out on a date, and she
Sean,
said,
I
"Well,
expect nothing less. I expect nothing less." Go ahead, Jimmy.
and,
I'm sorry.
no, man, it was all
I
good."
love it.
But then she goes, "Maybe." And then, so I got to see if I'm coming home that weekend. So anyway, long story short, we end up, getting married while I was the second lieutenant, stationed in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Been married 34 years.
Nice.
We've lived many, many places. Found our home here, right outside the Woodlands here in Houston. Um, have two incredible kids. Kate, who's 30 and has really risen quickly in her profession. Um, and then my son Colton is going to be a redshirt sophomore in football and a redshirt junior in baseball this coming year.
Nice.
And he's had a kind of a roundabout way. Started out signed with Arkansas State out of high school, um, and ended up playing D1 football a year, and then went the baseball route his sophomore year. Was played at a junior college, and then Benedictine called last summer and said, "Hey, would you like to do both?" And so we ended up at Benedictine College playing football and baseball. Um, do want to have one really quick shout out. His senior year, he set the all-time record for tackles at his high school, St. Pius High School.
Nice.
And coolest thing in the world, Jay, it was they played a school in Beaumont, and Sean Hintz was there, Robbie Sanchez was there, Robert Smith was there, Nacho Albergamo was there, and all those guys came up
Hell
for
yeah.
that game, and to see Carson, become that all-time leading tackler at his high
Excellent,
school,
man.
and
That's
that was
good
pretty
stuff,
cool,
man.
dude. That was good, man.
That's good stuff.
And Sanchez was a surprise, and he
Teddy bear.
walked up right before kickoff, and man caught me by surprise. But
Wow.
it was really cool, man. It was
Awesome.
that Shaw blood, bro. It was
Yeah.
that West Bank. For those guys to travel from all over
Hell
to
yeah.
be there that night. So,
Amazing,
Sean?
man. Good stuff. Hey, I gotta ask
Jake?
I gotta ask a question though first. Was Carson on the bus saying he was there to visit his uncle at Leavenworth?
Look, Jay, there may have been a few opportunities for me to be there.
That's a long and distinguished line from Shaw, baby. You know that.
No doubt about it.
So go ahead,
Well,
Sean, with
Jay,
Denise. You and Denise.
well, Denise and I are from completely different worlds, and we met 2 weeks before anesthesia school started. And she was, a quiet, shy girl from Ogden, Utah, and I was a bit of a boisterous extrovert, from New Orleans. And at the time, I was a big cyclist, and so was she, and was cycling with the Houston cycling club, and was working out with a couple of other girls in my class, Texas Wesleyan. And one particular Friday, girls asking me what am I doing that weekend? I said, I'm cycling all weekend. She says, we got a cute girl in our class who's a cyclist. And I said, well, how do you know that? She said, well, she's got this cute sports car with a bike rack on the back, and Denise drove by in her sports car. And I went, that is a cute one right there. And so that Monday, I was, invited her to come cycling with me, and we started working out together, and cycling, and playing golf. And she was a bit of an outdoors girl, and so was I. And as fate would have it, we went off and did our residency together in California, and started to fall in love, and took positions here. I'm proud to say that she and I have been partners in life, in marriage. We own 5 businesses together, and every one of all of which start with tandem, because we are together in everything we do. We scuba dive together, we snow ski together, we exercise together, we work together. We really are inseparable. And my wife is not just my wife, she is my business partner and my best friend. And I've always felt like sometimes I don't feel like I deserve her, but I feel like the luckiest guy in the world that I have such a phenomenal wife. And she's given me 2 incredible kids. I have a son who's a second year law student at the University of Houston, a Texas A&M graduate. He was in the Corps of Cadets and did very well at A&M. And I've got a daughter who just graduated from LSU, and is in the process of her application to go to medical school here in Shreveport, which has been her goal and her desires her entire life. Is she's always wanted to be in medicine. And so we've been here 29 years. We lived in the same house. We raised both of our children, and I'm just looking to one day, I've got some land in Utah. I'm ready to build that house, and drive off into the sunset together.
Roger that. Well, what I'm hearing is a lot of blessings, man. A lot of blessings. And
Tremendous.
that guy you brought up, Jimmy, that, I say that guy, your grandfather, the one you talked about, I promise you that guy's beaming with a smile from above with that, man. Without a doubt. I think that's amazing with both of you. One quick thing with Becky and I always tell people, like both you guys, I'm sure, and Sean, you just said it, I'm married to my best friend. We do so many things together. But the one thing I've always tell people that Becky and I can do is we could just sit under a tree and be comfortable all day long. Don't have nothing to do, and we'd be fine. So I'm married to my best friend, but I'm also married to my probation officer too, because she don't take any crap, man.
Yeah, well, Jay, I will tell you, I always knew that I was going to need an alpha female. I was always a bit of a wild Mustang, and I was going to need a tough woman to contain me and to tame me. And I married a tough girl, and she was once quiet and shy. She ain't no more, baby.
Well,
She,
you guys knew the circles I ran in. We're just 2 years older than you guys are, 1 year than you, Jimmy. But y'all know the guys I ran with, so that's the kind I needed to be with right there, without a doubt. So yeah, and
too,
I know we
me
all
too.
married well. So again, a lot of blessings there, and what the children have accomplished is amazing. And I'm so proud of my boys with those things as well. So, Jimmy and Sean, that's just a reflection of the parenting in my book. And you do your best for the rearing and the managing of their activities, and they're growing up, and you provide tools, but they've got to use them, and they've got to make the right decisions, and you guide them to make those decisions, and you hope for the best, because it's like we said, it's a whole lot different than when we were younger. And I think they've had a lot more opportunities than we had to generate. A lot of our opportunities, I think our
Yep.
children were given more options than what we probably had at the time back then. And they're all taking advantage of it, which again, that's a reflection of the parenting and the environments that we have them in. And, it comes from
But
both
Jay,
parents on both sides.
Jay, I will quickly add to what you just said. I woke up my kids every day during the school year with magnificent Monday, terrific Tuesday, wonderful Wednesday, thankful Thursday, and fabulous Friday. On Thursdays, they had to find someone and tell them that they were thankful that they were in their life, right?
Nice.
I would say it's going to be a great day, and my child had to say, and I would say it's going to be a great day. How do I know that? And my child would have to say, because I'm going to make it a great day. I am the master of my destiny. With God, I can do anything. And that's the truth. Each one of us has the ability to be whoever we want to be. We are the masters of that destiny. And it's not going to be handed to anyone. You have to work for it. And if there's a common theme between the three of us, is that we came from humble means. We didn't have "I can't" in our vocabulary. We were can-do people,
Right.
and we were warriors. And we weren't going to take no as an answer. We were going to be the masters of our destiny.
One thing that's ringing in my ear with what you just said, Sean and Jimmy, I think you'll agree, is a term we brought up earlier that kind of enlightened Sean when he was younger, is carpe diem. Because that's what I hear
Yeah.
ringing in my ears with everything you just said. You were teaching them to seize the day, and Jimmy, I know you in your heart. I know you do that. I know you do that. So there ain't no doubt
Well,
in
I'll
my
just
mind.
close this up.
Yeah.
I very similar. Every single morning, I drove my kids to school. They went to Catholic or private schools, so we were the drivers. There was no
Right.
buses, and dropped them off every day. And I said the same thing for 14, 15 years.
Yeah.
All men dream the same. All men promise the same. It's what they do that make them different. So be a doer, okay?
That's right.
And a promise is a promise, and a deal is a deal, and you're only as good as your word. And that's how
right.
I kick
Right
my
on.
kids out of the car every day.
Well, let's transition into a couple of questions I wanted to ask you guys. With everything y'all have going on, just real quick, tell me, what do y'all do to unwind? So, Jimmy, why don't you go first? Tell me, what do you do to unwind with everything you have?
I started after I retired from the Army. I needed something to do,
Mm-hmm.
so I started doing triathlons, and quickly learned what an Ironman is. So,
Yeah.
of course, I had to go do one, and so ended up doing 10 of them, and spent my whole 50s doing Ironman races, and uh, and so that was kind of my unwind,
Nice.
because the race is just the day. It's the 6 months before that
Okay.
really you kind of learn yourself, and the training and the regimen, the discipline. Um, Other than that, man, just really involved, with um, I'm kind of a political guy. I'm a frequent radio talk show caller, and
Mm-hmm.
I do call under an alias, so nobody knows who I am.
Right.
So make sure people don't know who I am. Uh, that's kind of a relief valve for me, is
Sure.
call and talk radio, and just voicing my opinion.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be a physical activity. It's just, what do you do to unwind?
No
Yeah.
opinion.
Like my youngest
And
son, Seth, I just had him on the podcast, and people always ask him, what does he do to unwind? Because he's a band director and he's going at it all the time. And he cooks. He's a really good cook, almost amateur chef-ish with things. And people ask, well, why don't you take up cooking and all that? He goes, because I don't want to be stressed when I'm cooking. I do the cooking for me. And what you're doing there is what you're saying. You do that for you, you know? So,
it's my
and you don't
therapy.
want to be stressed about it, even though like Ironman is a stressful activity. I know I did that when I was in the Navy for our base, but man, I did it for me. And the fact that we can be disciplined to do these things without a coach yelling in our ear the whole time, we have the discipline to do those things by our own choice. So big props to you on doing that, Jimmy. Into your 50s, man. That's amazing stuff. Sean, talk to me about what you do to unwind, brother.
Well, like Jimmy, exercise has always kind of been my wind down. My wife and I were active cyclists for years, ran 2 marathons, did 11 triathlons in my younger years, have always been involved in some form of exercise my entire life. That's what's taken its toll on me. I just had major back surgery 9 weeks ago. But I still snow ski quite a bit. My wife and I find 2 or 3 mountains. We travel with some friends. We're both certified, divers, and we dive all over the Caribbean. We've been all over the Caribbean and Virgin Islands, and exercise. I love to read. I love to cook. My wife and I a pretty good team. We love to entertain. LSU football. We have a big tailgate each year,
which I've
four,
been
four
to
or
a few
five times.
times, which is awesome.
Which is, I hope it lives up to its
It
reputation.
exceeded my
And
expectations, brother. It was great. The hosts were awesome. The
I like
food
to
was
hear
great.
that.
The company was good. I had an awesome time. Y'all are phenomenal host. Phenomenal host.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, Jay.
Yes, sir.
So that's pretty much my wife and I. We enjoy reading. We enjoy cooking. We're very active. Not a whole lot of downtime for us. We love water sports. We raised our kids on a lake, so this weekend we'll be in Arkansas on one of the nice, clear, deep water lakes in Arkansas, and just try to live every day to the fullest. The old saying is you only live once. That's not true. You only die once. You live
Right.
every day, so you better live it to its fullest.
Well, I love hearing that type of stuff, and you really reminded me of a podcast I had. I want to say it was maybe my fourth or fifth one. And Sean, I'm going to ask you to listen to it when you can. It's with a guy that played harmonica with us every now and then, and his name's Jack Lippa. Jack the Rattler is his nickname is the Rattler because he makes the harmonica rattle. But he and his wife remind me of just a little older version of you and Denise. He's a retired team lead mechanic for Delta Airlines. He's traveled all over the world. He's played harmonica all over the world. He was a certified instructor in skydiving. He's a certified diver. He was a motorcycle instructor. And he and his wife have traveled all over the world doing all of these things. And it's an audio podcast only, but think I think you'll really enjoy it. Just listen to the places that he's been and the activities that he's done. It's he and his wife Marianne all the time together. And man, this guy can
Send me the link.
What's that?
Send me the link. I'm going to be on the road 2 hours to Arkansas this Saturday. I
I'll
would
send
love
it
to
to you.
listen to it.
Just an amazing,
Please do.
amazing guy. He's probably I think Jack's about 72. And I want to say he did about 40 years ago. He said, I caught myself sitting on my couch in my SpongeBob shorts in a bag of Cheetos in one hand and a remote control in the other. He said, I just got so mad. I took the TV, I threw it in the pool in the backyard. I went out and bought a big thing of marbles. If I live to be 72 years old, I planned it. I think he said 75. I don't remember. It's relative to the story. And his goal was to take a marble every weekend and leave it with someone or some place to show that he's not sitting his ass on his couch. He's out there doing something. And this guy's played at Buddy Guy's Blues Club in Chicago. He's all over. He's got his own internet site. He does a lot of videos for his grandchildren. But I mean, he gave me a marble doing the podcast, dude. It was like really touching to me. He gave me one, and but he leaves a marble everywhere, or he gives it to someone. He said he's glad that he's going to have to restock his marbles here real soon. But one thing I said about it, I said, well, Jack the Rattler's talking about when it's good to lose your marbles. And man, what just the stories he had about the skydiving, and both of you guys will appreciate this. So he met his wife when he was teaching a skydiving class in California. And he's from Texas. And he said, man, I met her. It was an awesome thing, most beautiful lady. But I had to get her out of the land of the fruits and the nuts and get her back to Texas as quick as I could.
Yeah.
But Sean, I think you'll really enjoy it. I'll send you the link to it on YouTube. I'll send it to you.
I appreciate it. I look forward to it.
Man, just a real inspiring, but he's funny as hell, man. Just a real inspiring and funny story. But what a talented musician this guy is, But yeah, I think you'll like it. So last question I have for you guys is basically, did I miss anything, or is there anything else y'all want to share as far as, what you want to share with the audience with this? Jimmy?
Yeah, man. I just wanted, just thank you for having us here, Jay, and just really, giving some props to my wife for the last 34 years of just a crazy ride. And my brother, who's always been there with me, um, and we lost our dad 21 years ago, and I still miss him. He was a great dad. Uh, he was an unbelievable man with advice. He just enjoyed drugs, sex, and rock and roll a little too much, but it ended up being his downfall. But thankful for him, and for my mom having the wisdom to direct us in life and put us in positions and places that we didn't have to experience some of the things that folks that grew up in Avondale did. You know, going to a Henry Ford versus
Right.
an Immaculate Conception, going to an Archbishop Shaw versus John Arrowd or West Jeff. You
Right.
know, big difference in life, Jay, and
Yeah.
how quickly life could have turned for all three of us, right? And then eventually being led by God to Benedictine College and having a lifelong love of the Ravens and having a son there now and a daughter I didn't mention who graduated from there and played 4 years of college soccer there.
Right.
So anyway, um, that's pretty much it, man.
Well, one last thing for you, Jimmy. What advice would you give your younger self if you could go find yourself and but your younger self would
Man,
listen? What would you tell Jimmy?
it was the word that was told to me my whole life that I never listened. Patience. Be more patient.
Right.
Think things through. You know, my dad always said, you know, uh, always listen to your head, not your heart. And I've
Right.
always been a heart guy.
Right.
So be more cerebral and think things through. Um, so that would be the advice I would give younger me, Jay.
Well, I think
Yeah.
subconsciously you probably did accomplish it without even knowing it, man, because you wouldn't be where you are today if you didn't, you know? Because I know there's a lot of heart there, but I know you got to use your head with a lot of things you've done. All right, Sean, you're on the block, brother. Anything I missed?
Well,
First of all, anything that I missed with you? Anything else you want to share?
well, you know, Jay, I think there's three types of people in the world. Um, there's givers, there's takers, and then there's givers who act like givers but are really takers. What my brother and I have tried to do our whole lives is to serve others in one capacity or another. We were always willing to give somebody the shirt off our back, to help somebody on the side of the road. I tell people about how my brother was responsible for over 20 different young men um, who could have gone down a bad route. And he got him to Benedictine College. And to this day, those kind of guys who are now productive citizens send letters back thanking Jimmy Hintz for believing in them. Each one of us has always had to have someone who mentored us who did believe in us one way or another. If there was one thing that I would go back and say to myself, would be to not be so angry. I was a young man. I had a bad temper, and my fuse was short, and I didn't tolerate stupidity and laziness, and I'd get upset kind of quick.
Hmm.
And it took me a long time to calm myself down and to have a little bit more patience, like Jimmy Hintz, and listen with two ears and keep your mouth shut just a little bit more, and you'll learn a little bit something from other people. I thoroughly enjoyed this evening, and been looking forward to it all week. And I'm so thankful, Jay, that you were willing to have Jimmy and I on your podcast. We appreciate it very much.
No, absolutely. And again, it's I'm the one that's thankful. And excuse me, I thought about that idea when we were at the crawfish boil, and I'm like, man, Jimmy and Sean, they would be great on a podcast. I love talking to these guys. I love what they've done. I admire what they've done all the way around. I mean, I'm talking about the whole body of work with both of you. And Sean, one thing I can tell you, if I was in need of one thing when I was younger, was to have a big brother like Jimmy. Believe me, I needed that. And I wish I would have had a big brother like Jimmy in my life. Things would have probably went a lot smoother for me back in those days if I would have had that. So, Jimmy, I think that's a big compliment coming from your brother for him to say that to you, man. And we know you're a rock,
It
and
really means a lot.
somebody to look up to like that, and a guy that was kind of like that with me. He wasn't an older brother, a big brother, but Greg Stahl. Greg was like that with me. Greg helped me. Greg had some Darryl Crawford moments with me, Sean, and
Yeah.
it helped get me right on some things because my father really wasn't involved in too many things with my life, and I spent a lot of time with my grandparents and kind of footloose and fancy free, like you said, and I'm considerably more effective when I have some structure. And I know Jimmy's the kind of guy, structure is one of his big strong points. And man, it's just a blessing, Jimmy, and please take this as a compliment. I would love to have had a big brother like you, man, without a doubt. So,
Man, I like that, man.
well,
I'd have had somebody else's ass to kick. No, I'm just playing.
right.
Yeah.
There you go. Sean, we would have ganged up on her. Still would probably beat our ass, but we would have ganged up. That's why I'm married to that mean Mexican right now, man. So anyway, no, guys, I want to thank y'all very much. And look, we'll wrap it up here. So I just want to thank my very accomplished guests, the Hintz brothers, Jimmy and Sean, for being on the guest podcast today and sharing some really motivational stories. And also we had some good, laughs along the way here. Don't forget to subscribe or follow whatever venue you're watching on. I have a Facebook page on my YouTube channel, also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, LinkedIn. Fellas, we all over the place now, man. Look out. And as one of our good friends, I'll say, Kevin Duck Presterberg would always say, if it's free, it's me. And this is all free. So enjoy yourselves with it. And with that, all right.
There you go, J-Bo.
Let's
All
do
right.
it.
Near the banks of old Man River, rising grandly there, stands the halls of Shaw forever, gleaming bright and fair. Sing to praise her, sing her glory, Shaw will know we care. Brave her men, proud to remember.
We got it, man. We got it. All right,
Love you,
fellas.
Jay.
Thank
Thank you,
y'all
buddy.
very much.
Yeah.
We'll catch you on the flip side for the next episode of In the Pocket with J-Bo.